Welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon Osmo, and on the Who Became podcast today is Isaac Harvey. Now, Isaac is from London, England, and was born with a rare disability called limb pelvic hypoplasia, which means he has no arms and really short legs. Now, he's never let this disability stop him from doing the things in life that he wants to do. And when he was told a few years ago that he couldn't skydive in England, he didn't accept no, he sought out a yes and travelled to America to accomplish that goal. And stick around to the end of the conversation when I ask Harvey what is the one thing that he wants in life, and you might be surprised by his answer. Now, as always, if you get something from today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to be told each time I release a new and inspiring story. And I want to invite you to click the link below to sign up to my newsletter to be kept updated about upcoming guests and exclusive content. Okay, you ready? Let's dive into this week's conversation with Isaac Harvey. Well, Isaac Harvey, welcome to the Who Became podcast.
Hello.
Well, and it's a real pleasure to talk with you today. I know that my listeners are going to get so much out of this conversation. I was thinking beforehand as to what I would want them to take away from our conversation today. And I think it would be about perseverance and also understanding that we can do so much in our lives if we really have that grit and determination. And I'll introduce you a little bit, Isaac, and then you can then tell my listeners as to who you are. But you are the president of Wheels and Wheelchairs, and you were born with a medical condition, which means that you have no arms and you have very short legs. And so you've had a lot of adversity in your life. You've overcome a lot of adversity, and I'm really excited and blessed to be talking with you today. So welcome again to the Who Became podcast.
Yep, and thank you for having me on your podcast to speak to your listeners about my life and hopefully inspire at least one person from this.
Oh, I think you'll inspire many, Isaac, from today for sure. So maybe tell us a little bit about your medical condition that you were born with then. So I mentioned you've got no arms and very short legs. Maybe tell the listeners a little bit about that medical condition.
Sure. So my name's Isaac, and I was born with a condition called limb pelvic hypoplasia. As Simon said, it is no arms and short legs. I also have scoliosis in my spine, which is the curvature, but I have metalwork which has that straightened.
Wow, and tell us a little bit about then, you're the president of Wheels and Wheelchairs, and I know that you're also a videographer, and there's many things. I was talking to our mutual friend Chris Patel this morning, and he was rattling off all the different things that you do. So maybe tell people about what you do for work and day-to-day stuff.
Okay, so I'm the president of Wheels and Wheelchairs, which is a group of rollerbladers, roller skaters, and wheelchair users. And the roller skaters push us wheelchair users around different parts of London. We do different trips around the UK. We've done Bath to Bristol. We skated in Brighton, and we've also gone abroad and done skated in Paris. And we love what we do, and it's a great community, and we're part of all the skating community. But in my for work, I'm a video editor. I work for a charity called One Place East, which is a charity which deals with people with disabilities and mental health conditions, and I make videos for them. I'm a peer facilitator, delivering workshops, and as mentioned earlier, I also do a lot of adventurous things such as skydiving, skiing, tall ship sailing, and the list goes on and on. I love going with the flow with life and going with opportunities.
Yeah, and you sent me the picture of you skydiving, and I was thinking, one, that is a lot of trust, and I was thinking, two, there is no way I would ever do skydiving. That is crazy. So you are a very adventurous guy, and like you said, I mean, you've done You've overcome a lot of adversity, but you do a lot of great work to help others within the community. So I'm really blessed to be talking with you. So maybe if we just focus a little bit about your upbringing then and living with this disability. So I know you were sort of fostered from 2 weeks old. Maybe do you mind just telling us a little bit about your upbringing? What are some of those early years like for you living with this disability?
Yeah, so I was fostered into a very lovely family. My mum, who's Welsh, and my dad, who was from Trinidad, and they really brought me up as their own. Never told me that I'm unable to do things in life. They've always encouraged me. My brothers and sisters have always supported me in whatever I want to do. And as growing up, I've made some really great friends who go abroad with me or do day out trips and make sure that I'm fine throughout the day. And I'm really grateful for everyone who has helped me achieve things in life and encouraged me to keep going and be the best that I can be.
Yeah, and I guess as you got older, Isaac, I know one of the things, and we spoke about this offline, it might be difficult for you to sort of really talk about this time, but when you were fostered from 2 weeks old, was there a correlation between your disability, do you believe, as to why your parents gave you up? So that's where your journey really starts, with starting to overcome adversity. Have you ever sort of really thought about that as to why did your parents give you up so young? Was it tied into your disability?
Yeah, so to my knowledge, my birth parents my birth dad was a sailor, and they used to be on the boats, and I think they just thought it might be a bit difficult to look after me because of what they did. But that hasn't really affected me. I feel that, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'm really grateful for the life that I've had now. And as mentioned earlier, I've been able to do such amazing things because of it. Who knows what life would have been like if I did go down that path. I probably wouldn't be on this podcast now, talking to you and getting the opportunity to speak to you. So, you know, everything happens for a reason, and just got to be happy with the journey.
Yeah, and you said at the beginning that, you know, maybe one person might be inspired. I think at key points during this conversation, Isaac, I think multiple people are going to be inspired by what you say, because this is where the journey really starts. But you could hold that, and then you
Yeah.
could keep sort of going over and over and over again. You know, why was I given up as a child? You know, what does that mean? Was I not wanted? Was I abandoned? But I know the listeners throughout this conversation are just going to see your positivity and say, well, this is where I am now,
Yeah.
and I'm going to move forward. So thank you for sharing that. And what about most of your life? I imagine has been spent in a wheelchair. So what was it like growing up? I know you're 24, Isaac. Is that right? 24?
26.
Oh, 26. Okay, I'm a couple of
Yeah,
years
yeah,
out. So
yeah.
what was it like sort of growing up then, maybe in the 80s? Because most of your life must have been in a wheelchair. Tell us a little bit about schooling, you know, what it was like making friends. Maybe we'll sort of tackle some of those subjects.
So yeah, growing up, so basically it's like I've always had to so in school I've had learning support assistants who have helped me to write down things and help me with exams and help me with lunch times and things. And I've always had to rely on other people to help me out. So that's kind of like that was like a norm for me. I didn't really think any different, but with making friends, my classmates were very supportive, and I made quite a lot of friends growing up. But as you know, primary school and secondary, you kind of don't really keep in touch with people as often. It's only afterwards I think you make the real friends. So there are a couple of people I've stayed in contact with. But yeah, it's yeah, I feel that I've grown up with a lot of good around me. I did get, you could say, bullied once in school, which was not a nice experience. It was one of those things where I didn't know what was going on, and I had no one around me, and it made me really disorientated and upset. But apart from that, I feel that I've kind of had a good experience overall. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because where my mind naturally drifts towards when you hear about someone who is, spent their entire life in a sort of wheelchair, has arms and sort of short legs. We assume the world is a bad place, and everyone, you might have been bullied or heard negative comments. So it's really positive to hear that. We have to remember there's a lot of good in the world, Isaac, isn't there? And we often forget that, the media and everything is portrayed how bad people are. But it's so inspiring to hear that, you were welcomed at your school and people tried to make you feel included, and you sort of made some friends. I mean, I think that's a strong message there, that we just feel the world is so broken, and it is, but there is a lot of good within this world. Yeah.
And it's all about perception. I feel that with everything, there's two ways of looking at things. For example, if it's raining outside, you can either see it as a horrible day, or you can see it as something which is good for the plants. So it's all about perception.
Well, yes, that's very true. It's very true. And all plants need a good watering. That's true.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject then, so one of the things that you said when we're doing research for this podcast and me and you spoke was, I asked what it was like, and I should say for my audio listeners, if anyone's joined us for the first time, but I'm also black, and Isaac is black, as you've heard. I asked you, what was it like to be black and disabled? And you gave a very interesting answer to that. Do you want to sort of share your views on what it's like to be black and disabled?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, but whenever I'm out or out in the public eye, and as people say, discrimination, it's always been my disability, and people see my disability first, not my skin color. For example, me not being able to get on a train, or buggies not moving out the way so I can get on the bus, is because of my disability. And that has always been my barrier, as you would say, throughout my life. I haven't really experienced any sort of racism. It's just all about my disability, really.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I got a couple of examples in my life, and it's really interesting how we each have our own biases and what those biases mean. I can remember an example here, me living in the US. I know that, me going up against an African American has been labeled in one way, but I know for a fact, just from my own personal experience, that when people have heard that I'm English, me being English has out-trumped the fact that I'm outwardly seen as being a black male, and that's changed people's perceptions about me. And I also know that when I was in the police in England, I would arrest people, and they would say to me, Isaac, you police officers are all the same. You're all racist. You're all white guys. I'm like, are they talking about me? You realize I'm black, and they were just so anti-police. And they were saying all these bad things. They hadn't even recognized my color as a black person. So it is interesting how our biases can change, and how what they prioritize in our mind as well. But your disability is always what is seen first. That is how people perceive you. So fascinating. And interesting, you say that you didn't really suffer much racism as well growing up as a kid, or even in today's world.
Sorry, just to go on your point earlier about biases, I think it also leads to people having a bad experience, and then with that bad experience, they label all the next experiences to be the same. So, for example, like you're saying, people who may have had a bad experience with the police, they may say, "Oh, all police are the same," when clearly they're not all the same. We're all
Yeah.
unique and we're all different. But yeah, it's just, I think it's a human thing that, you know, we can have really traumatic experience that now everything related to that will always be the same.
Yeah, and to add context to my story, this was a black guy that was saying it to me as well. So I mean, it was like, you know, it was almost like it was a bizarre time, but it
yeah,
is true. Yeah, yes, yeah, great context. And I mean, just to maybe wrap up your sort of upbringing and sort of we move on to some of your sort of positive attitude as to where that came from. What do you feel about some of your African roots? Do you feel connected to them in any way? I mean, you've lived pretty much. I mean, you said you're from a mixed race family. Your mum is white and Welsh.
yeah.
Some of my American listeners around the world might even have to go and research where Wales is. And then your dad is from Trinidad. I mean, have you ever felt close to your Ghanaian roots that you mentioned?
I not really, no, but it has been something that through the most recent years I have been learning more about. Because like I said earlier, my main focus has been about disability, showing people that you can do anything if you have a disability or not. And I feel that's my strong point and something that I live with every day. And I want to really make a positive change for people's mindsets and show that anything's possible if you put your mind to it. But it's something that I do want to learn more about, and hopefully after all of this lockdown business is over, I can travel out there and experience life out there and see how different it is to here.
Yeah, and I've no doubt that you will, and you'll send me pictures. I'll see them on social
Oh
media
yes,
for sure. You must see.
I'll make a video.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating.
Yeah.
And now, so if we move on to sort of like a new topic now, then, so I want to move on to sort of creating a positive attitude. And when I spoke to you, I was struck by your mindset. And again, I have to keep comparing it against myself and my perceptions. And I should say my audience don't know that I've actually got a foster brother who has learning disabilities. He's in his 40s, but he's got the mental age of a 3-year-old. So it's not totally in isolation how I was getting some of my views around interacting with you. My mum's fostered, so I've always grown up around people with disabilities because those were the type of people that she had a passion to help. But we spoke through a scenario. But you're at a bus stop or bus request, as they might say, depending where you're listening. And you said there's a bus approaching, and then you're in your wheelchair. And again, I add the context that you've got, you know, very short legs and no arms. And most people would think, I can't do this. What am I going to do? But your mind doesn't say that, Isaac. Well, tell us what your mind says when you see this obstacle.
Yeah. So So with that story, so the bus in London, England, they have a space in the bus which have a space for wheelchairs to get on, and they have a ramp which comes out the back. And there's been plenty of times where the bus has come, the driver has seen me, and he presses the button for the ramp, and the ramp may not come out, and it breaks down, or he doesn't do the ramp at all, and because there's a buggy with a mother on. And don't get me wrong, it can be quite frustrating, and you know, you feel that like the bus should be checked, or the driver should say something to this mother instead of just driving off and not letting me on. But I've got this mind where I don't really get too aggravated about it. Obviously, I do speak out about things if it is wrong, but I'm very calm about it because I always realize that there is always another bus coming next. Can you just get onto the next bus? It's also a reason why I leave early, just because of these obstacles. But yeah, there's always a way around these obstacles because with the bus, there's always the next one. And
yeah, and I think that's the thing. I did crap job, Isaac, of laying you into that into that story.
Yes,
But what I love about getting out from it was there's always a way around it. Some people could be sat there thinking, I can't do this. Your
yeah,
mind says, how do I do this? How do I overcome? Which is a very unique viewpoint of not seeing yourself as a victim, not seeing this as a just there's no way I can overcome this. You always say, how can I do this? Whether this is
yeah.
asking for someone's help, trying to shout, get attention, you always drift towards how am I going to overcome this? So where does that attitude come from, Isaac?
I think, to be honest, it is because of the people around me and also my disability, because I've had to overcome since day one. And because of that, which has been ingrained in my brain, I'm able to just do that without thinking now. It's a subconscious thing to just think, okay, what should I do next to get to the next step? And I think another thing we did speak about before was stations and getting off the train and finding that the lift's broken at the station, that you can't get out of the station. And always thinking, okay, instead of crying about it and getting really worried and thinking about going home, we think about, okay, is the next station accessible? Finding out where can I go next? Planning the route ahead just in case those things happen, so you're prepared in advance, and just looking at different pathways, because there's probably 100 ways to get to the same point. It's just finding the right direction.
Yeah, powerful stuff. And I know, I spent a lot of time incarcerating people in England as a police officer. That's what I did for those that have sort of broken the law and were offering sort of little to society. And then since on this podcast, I've been honoured to interview people formerly incarcerated, which I've become friends with. Lester Young, who I interviewed in one of my episodes, murdered someone as a teenager. I actually texted him last night, and Lewis Conway Jr., another guy, texted him last night about Clubhouse and stuff. So I've drawn these, got these good friendships with these people to see how much people can overcome. But one thing that they all say to me, which is really interesting, is that there are people that are incarcerated that are freer in their minds than those people that are living out in society. Can you relate to that subject with your sort of disability? Can you relate to what they say, that there's people that are freer in their minds in a world where they might be incarcerated, you sort of trapped by circumstance, than those people that are sort of living that are able-bodied?
I always believe that I feel that with all of my with all my conditions, it has in some ways makes me more proactive in wanting to do more, because there is always something to overcome with having a disability, and because there is always that drive to keep on doing things, it just lets me become more active. Like the amount of people who've said to me, like, you've done more than what I've done, and I have arms and legs. And I think it's just that drive to keep on showing people, look, I might have this condition, but I want to show you that, I can do these things. And I also believe it's all about your mindset. I think, because I believe anything's possible if you put your mind to it, and having a positive outlook on things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, you're a videographer. I understand you make your videos using your feet. I can just about touch my toes. We've got to get stuff into context. You can do more than me there. Yeah, if you ask me to bend over, my back goes out. So And so, what do you think about? I feel like we touched on this, but I am a man of faith. I do believe in a higher power. I tend to use the word creator, because that is a catch-all. Even if people say they're atheists or they don't believe, I think most people can get to a point of, well, something started all this, and we're not going to dive into that subject right
Yeah,
now,
of
because
course. Yeah.
that's a podcast in itself, Isaac, for sure, a
Yes. Yeah.
controversial one.
Yeah. You have to invite me on again.
Yeah, let's do that one. We'll do another part on that for sure.
Yeah.
When we talk about like the creative end of creative that started all this, do you ever think why were you born with this disability that has restricted you in some things in life?
I haven't really thought about that until maybe about 2, 3 years ago. Because as I've mentioned quite a lot of times, just growing up, I just thought I was like everyone else, really, just with a little bit of a difference. And it was only so when I was making videos, like I was doing vlogging on YouTube, and I was just making videos of my journeys and what I'd get up to, and loads of people would say, "Oh, why don't you, talk about your disability?" And I thought, "Oh, I don't really want to talk about my disability because I'm just doing me and I'm showing you what fun I'm having and what I'm getting up to." But it came to me like when I started doing inspirational talks and things, how it was really having such a positive impact on people. And I thought, oh, maybe that is a good thing to add to my videos. And I did start to do it, and it did get more people engaged and inspired by what I was talking about. And yeah, that I think that's the reason why I was put on this earth and in my condition, to inspire other people to be the best versions of what they can be.
Yeah, and I know it must be hard. It's a hard question to process, I'm sure, and I really respect your answer. It's a very thought out one, an articulated one. And again, I'll tie it back to the start of this podcast. You said, well, maybe if I inspire one person, but
Yeah.
we know through your work with, the Wheelchair Foundation and your videography and your inspiring story, you're inspiring so many other people. So just hearing you talk about taking the positives from it as to how you're impacting other people's lives, I mean, it's really, really impactful. It makes people stop and think about, am I leading my own life of significance and doing what I can to help others? Yeah, interesting. And so,
Yeah.
what about those people in life then that might say, um, the naysayers that we might have, or those negative influences? Most people have got one friend that you can win $1 million, and they'll say, "Oh, you should have won two," or "Oh, you just got a, I just got a new car. Yeah, you should have got a Mercedes. You got a BMW." There's always people that not
Yeah.
necessarily try to bring us down, but there's this sort of mist of negativity around who they are, and we have to sort of learn who those people are and try and keep them at distance, but embrace the friendships in a respectful way.
Yes.
But when you hear that type of naysayers or people say it can't be done in life, what do you say to people that have that attitude? Oh, I'm never going to get a job. No one's going to employ me. I'm never going to meet the right person. What do you say to those type of people that might be whining about life?
Right. So, well, there's two types of people like that. So, like I said, there's people who try and try and bring you down and always give you those negative thoughts, and as you say, that's not going to work. Why are you doing it that way? And this and that. And I've like everyone has that one friend or that family member who always tries and brings you down. And I have to be honest, growing up, I was quite emotional, and I did listen to these people, and I did get affected by it very easily. But over time, and I was actually saying this to a friend the other day who's going through people who are getting negative thoughts from people. I said, for them to do that and for you to react and listen to them, you're giving them more care than what they're giving to you. So why bother giving them so much care when that's not true, and that your intentions are good, and me buying that car, that Renault, was better than the Mercedes, because you wanted that car and that was your intention to do so. I believe that you shouldn't really be giving all of these people that much attention. If you know what you're doing is right, stick to it and focus on what you want to do. And they'll, you know, and the other reason why people do it is because of jealousy. It's a human thing to get jealous, but you know, as long as you know you're doing good, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I thought that was a good point you made there until you compared a French car against a German car. So you,
Yeah,
yeah, no, don't get the Renault, get the Mercedes. But no, I joke with you. But it is,
yeah,
and it's great to hear your perspective. I think everyone, you've got to reach that point, and you've had a lot of challenges to overcome, and you wouldn't have done that by listening to those naysayers and stuff. So I just want to get your sort of perspective on that. So I want to move on to another key point about your life is the reliance on others. That I am, you know, I have my own challenges in my life. You never know what's going on internally with someone, but the world sees me as quite a blessed person because I'm able-bodied. But one of the things that you can't do is live a totally independent life because you always have to rely on someone to, you know, help do day-to-day things that I take for granted. So I guess how does it make you feel knowing that there's some things in life that you just can't do without relying on someone else?
So there's two ways that I think of this. Is one is, and we did speak about this before, was sometimes when I want to travel abroad and no one else is free to go with me, or I want to go to this event in London and I have no one else to help out, I'm unable to go, and because of that I have to stay at home sometimes, and it can be quite frustrating when, you know, for anyone else they could just go and to this event and have a good time, but for me I do have to rely on people, and it can be quite annoying and it can be quite frustrating. But on the other hand, on the most part, I have my mum and brother at home who help me out whenever I need to. Like, I don't really have to wait on them to help me out. On most of the time, as long as it's known in advance, I do have people to go out with me, and I'm really grateful that I am able to do things with people. It's kind of it has its advantages and disadvantages, but the advantages do outweigh the disadvantages, having to rely on people. And also I feel more connected with people who do help me, especially friends, because I have friends who over time I taught them about personal care and helped me, for example, to the toilet, and I feel for them to care in that way, and for us to be comfortable with each other doing so, has built bigger friendships. And same with my family. Going out with my sister on different activities has definitely brought us closer together, having to help each other out.
Yeah, and I know when or just in what you've said there, picking up on an additional point is, I'm hearing a couple of things. There's quite a big sacrifice in your life you have to make because you can't just go and do the things that independence gives you. And also, I think my listeners are going to get through a lot of this, but there's a lot of self-reflection that you've done either throughout your life, or you're definitely showing today. But you have a very deep reflection as to what all these things mean. So it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's over, because like I said, I'm able to overcome challenges, but things like that do get on my mind, and it does stick with me, and it does get quite annoying. But over time, I have kind of broken free from that, and I do have a much more positive outlook on life, and I am more positive about most situations. But it's human to get annoyed about things, it's human to get upset about things, but it's also human to be happy about things. So, you know, it's just life.
Isaac, one of the things I always ask my guest is there anything off limits that I can't ask, but we don't want to go? And I know that I asked you a question about a defining moment in life, and I would understand or believe from my own perception that you would mostly say, Simon, I just want to be able-bodied to be able to sort of to walk, to run, to write with a pen. But your answer was deeper than that. It was surrounding trying to find meaning in those personal relationships. That's what you've sort of learned that you're craving in life. Do you mind sharing a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So throughout my life, I growing up, I always wanted to be in a relationship, and I always wanted to have a girlfriend, as most people would. And that was really difficult for me because, for one, yes, I have a disability. So that is like not really the norm, and a lot of I can't say a lot because a lot of people do get into relationships with disabilities, but it is much harder than the average person. And I thought, this is really going to make me happy in life, to be in a happy and healthy relationship. And that time did come, and I did get a girlfriend, and she was great. But the thing is, I ended up not really being happy with myself. And I wasn't happy with myself. So when I got the girlfriend and I still wasn't happy, I thought, okay, something's not right here. And it did make me become quite selfish, and I wasn't really thinking straight. And unfortunately, the relationship did end up breaking. And I thought, okay, I need to break this cycle, because I've had kind of like moments where I've had girls thinking that they like me, but I was thinking wrongly about it. And I think I was too focused on this is what's going to make me happy, rather than thinking, well, actually, what is going to make me happy in life. And it was around 2019 when I said to myself, okay, I need to take a step back and really focus on the mind and what is true happiness. And that's when I took to the internet and did a lot of research, and I learned about the law of attraction, about how positive thoughts and how positive thinking affects your life. I learned about meditation, breathing exercises, calming the mind in stressful situations, and just realizing that, and earlier, like I spoke about, perception, seeing things in two different angles. You can either see it positively or negatively. And once I did that for about 3-4 months, really learning about it, meditating every day, I now I now understand life, and I'm much more positive about it. If I'm ever in a negative situation, I get over it quite quickly. And going back to being in a relationship, it's one of those things where if it happens now, I feel that I'd be much more comfortable in getting one. I feel that I'd be more selfless and caring for the other half and think about their needs rather than just thinking selfishly, and just going with the flow with life, and knowing that whatever happens, I'm going to be happy. And if it doesn't work out, it's meant to have, that it's happened for a reason, and I'm going to continue to have this mindset and just go with the flow.
Now, isn't it interesting that you got what you wanted and then you realized it wasn't enough?
Yes.
You turned into a typical man where you took everything for granted and you didn't put the woman first. So all the women listening will be saying, "Yeah, that's right," and all the men are saying, "Yeah, I've been there, Isaac. You know, we all make that mistake." So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, your answer. It is very true. We all reach that point where it's never enough. What you wanted was a deeper, meaningful relationship, and you sort of found yourself in that position. You did what most men do, is you ballsed it up, and now you've had to go back through a period of reflection.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great insight.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, I'll go on, Isaac.
No, I was also going to just say, like, sometimes you do have to go into the deep end to really understand what is wrong and how to get better. As I say, life's not easy, but that's the challenge of life, and if you overcome it, you feel much happier.
Yeah, and as we start to wrap up, we're sort of taking your journey, which is a very powerful journey. People are going to hear the positivity. That's one thing I wanted to really get out of this podcast, is to how you can come through adversity out the other side and really still have a life of meaning. But I guess one of the last questions I want to leave with is that people might make assumptions about your life, that you're disabled, you can't do things. And what do you want people to know about you, Isaac? What's one thing you want people to take away about you?
I want people to just realize that, I'm an example of what can be achieved in life with limitations and making the most out of life.
Yeah, great stuff. And the second to last question then, so of all the things that you've accomplished, you're a videographer, you're the president of Wheels and Wheelchairs. When you look back, what's the one thing where you'd say, I proved that person wrong, I proved him wrong, I proved her wrong, I proved that organization wrong? Where can you stick it to the people and say, you got me wrong there?
I've had quite a lot of those moments.
Have you got a long list of it? Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. So give us a list of people and organizations. Just give me one. Give me one thing.
I just think okay, I'll give you one example. I'm not going to name and shame anybody, but
no, we don't like lawsuits, Isaac, on this show. We're in amateur production, no lawsuits.
Yeah, but in school, at the end of school, actually it was a couple of people, but at the end of school there was so many people, even some family members were saying, you got to go to university. You have to go to university. That's how you're going to become successful in life. And I thought, I don't really want to go uni now. I'm done with the education. After sixth form, I thought, I want to just do something different now. I want to get on with life. And I didn't go to university, and look where I am now with doing all these amazing things, all these amazing opportunities. And I feel if I did go to university and did the 3-4 years, I would have lost out on all of the opportunities I had after school. And yeah, there you have it. I proved them wrong.
Yeah, and as you said, you wouldn't be on the Herbert Kane podcast talking to me. But
well, exactly,
but there's a key point in there as well, is that we do have to go our own way. I mean, my eldest son is 10, and he's already said he doesn't want to go to university. Well, here in the US where I live, university is a big thing. There's this real perception where you've got to go to college, you've got to do this stuff. But there's no right way or wrong way. Well, there is a real wrong way to live your life. But I think if people put one foot in front of the other and you're falling forward rather than falling backwards, most people can achieve good stuff. So it is nice to see that you've done things, Isaac, your way. And I think you should be very, very proud of that. So as we wrap up then our conversation today, and maybe we'll come back and talk about the creator as another podcast with more reviews on that. But, you are the president of Wheels and Wheelchairs, you're a videographer. Maybe just close with where people can find more information about who you are and some of the projects and things that you're involved in.
Yeah, so for Wheels and Wheelchairs, if you want to check us out, we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all under @Wheels and Wheelchairs, no spaces. And for my own personal stuff, I don't really post as much as I should do on social media. I'm not really a fan of posting my own personal things as much now, but that is I am Isaac Harvey, where you can see what I get up to next. And yeah, thank you for having me today, Simon. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully we can have another 4-hour discussion in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you for being on. I would say, I think it's on your Instagram, and I'll put all those details in the show notes. But on your Instagram, people see stuff of you skydiving. And,
yes.
If there is ever an advert for someone saying you can't do something, I mean, go and look at this guy's social media, because he shows that so much can be achieved with the right mindset, with the right outlook and positive attitude. So, Isaac Harvey, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and definitely I'm going to make some notes. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the creator conversation. I want to dive into that. With you. So
my mind's changed over time with that. So yeah, we could talk about that.
That's good. That'll be it. So there you go. There's an exclusive for the listeners. Stand by for that conversation. Simon and Isaac talking about the creator. Let's dive into it. But Isaac, thank you for joining me. You have a good day. Catch you soon, brother.
Thank you for joining the Who I Became podcast. To help spread this inspiring story, be sure to share it with your friends, hit the like button, and of course subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on any future episodes. We'd also love to hear how this story impacted you, so leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching us from. To learn more about this episode, our guests, or Simon, head over to the Simon Osimo/podcast and sign up to receive the latest information delivered straight to your inbox. Once again, thank you for joining us for the Who I Became podcast.